My father is the sort of person who can dominate conversation, though he doesn't look the part. He's the sort who will talk for 10 minutes to your 1 minute if you let him. Some of my earliest memories include asking a simple question on my homework, which quickly turned into a 30-minute explanation with example problems and slogans to remember, as he tried to ensure that I understood the method, even though I simply wanted him to confirm that I had gotten the answer correct. Like many fathers, my father has a lot to say all the time, and while I must begrudgingly admit that much of it is good advice, one particular phrase he told me in my first year of university has always stuck with me. Work hard, play hard, and rest well. I've always been a little bit afraid of my father, and this was especially true in my childhood. Between my parents, my father was usually the one who dished out the discipline and consequences, with my mother agreeing vigorously in the background. Not to mention he also brushed my teeth and flossed way harder than my mom. But there were also times where he'd be my biggest ally, like when I would ask if I could sleep over at a friend's house, or if I wanted to buy something I normally wouldn't be allowed to get. He would somehow always convince my mother. That being said, far too many times to count, I'd walk on eggshells around my father. When I misbehaved at church, was clumsy often, talked back to my mother, didn't do my schoolwork, or got a bad grade on a test or quiz, especially that. I still remember the tongue lashing I got after not doing my spelling homework one weekend when I should have. My father's changed a lot since those days. So much so that sometimes I think to myself, are you sure you're really my old man? Who are you? These moments include babysitting the family dog, playing tug-of-war with her, taking her on hour-long walks, speaking in a much softer tone than before. And that's just with the family dog. I've seen how much more tender he's become with his granddaughter, my niece. Hearing him express his hesitations in holding her, reading numerous books, and playing building blocks and toys with her. He laughs and smiles a lot more than he used to. He's so different from what I remember in my childhood. But I think one of the biggest reasons for this change are his views on play. Play has such a strange connotation in different life stages. In educational circles, it's usually considered to be an essential step in the development of a child. In high school, it's considered somewhat of a silly thing to partake in, a time waster. Perhaps not entirely unexpected, as they still need to grow up. And then in the far reaches of university and adulthood, the word play is almost solely reserved for children. Yet studies show that the benefits of play are immense, regardless of age. I sometimes help out with the kids at a local church, and every time, they shine so bright with their excitement. Watching them cheer at obtaining cardboard, stacking cups, coloring, eagerly chasing each other as they play tag, or playing with string. They're so content with such simplicity, the twinkle in their eyes undeniable. Children really are masters of play. Heavens forbid you partake in play, for that's something only children and the immature do. I used to think that when you were an adult, you didn't really have hobbies per se. My parents didn't, or so it seemed to me. Yet, play is inseparable from the human psyche. I was reminded of its importance when watching an older anime from 2014 by the recommendation of my friend Heather. That anime is Barakamon, and though it opens on discussions of calligraphy, it really is a discussion central to what many of us think on a day-to-day basis. What does it mean to be yourself, amidst the difficulties of life? The series follows a section of Seishu Honda's journey of self-discovery, opening with his exile to the Goto Islands. The reason for his exile? He punched the calligraphy director in the face after the director called his calligraphy boring, rigid, academic, and bland. Thus, the story begins on his attempt to find some way to reinvent and reflect on himself, to find his sense of artistry and calligraphy again at his father's behest. Initially seeing his exile as one of the worst things that could possibly happen to him due to the lack of modern conveniences and the remote nature of the area, Seishu undergoes a transformation that changes the trajectory of his life. From his profession of calligraphy to his appreciation of a more simplistic lifestyle, but most importantly, his rediscovery of the importance of play. And that starts in the very first episode. Unaccustomed to the simple life of the island, Seishu encounters several events upon landing that test his limits and patience immediately. A tractor ride takes him to his new lodging, where he has to move his belongings into his new housing himself, where he finds that several of the island children have been using this house as a secret base. His bath doesn't have electrical heating. And the event that tests his limits most of all. A particular young girl, Naru, who just won't leave him alone. And as a central character, she continues to be a significant helper and occasional nuisance to his daily life. From beginning to end, their relationship is at the center of the series, as she provides the catalyst for the change in his outlook on life. I think one of the most beautiful parts of the show is that while he teaches the folks on the island things, like calligraphy, they teach him an equal amount, if not more, too. The culture of the adults and environment of the island help to put him in a healthier mindset. But it's the children who especially change Seishu for the better. While Naru is the main star of the show amidst the children on the island, each and every one of them is a central character to changing Seishu's perspective on life. It's an amazing reminder of the impact people can have on us, especially children or people younger than us. It's funny. I forgot when I lost that part of myself that was filled with childlike wonder and optimism. Now I'm a jaded kidult. But it's what Seishu experiences that make me really believe that we lose something when we grow up, and that reframing our perspective can often pay off huge dividends as we continue onward. That in order to do the things he wants to do, he needs to take care of himself, for there are others who will worry about him if he doesn't. When he's feeling down and out, having a bit of play to take his mind off of those things causing him grief can be just what he needs to bounce back. When he's scared to take a step forward and do what he needs to do, sometimes all it takes is a bold step, or handprint, to break the ice, resulting in a masterpiece. That even after failing, and facing the core of his fears, the reminder that he can change and do better, and that, perhaps, a little bit of humor is all that's needed. That there's so much more to life than his calligraphy little bubble. Fishing, birthdays, festivals, rope swings, stargazing. And most importantly, they teach him how to have fun again. They teach him how to play. And it makes all the difference as he develops as a person and as a calligrapher. It puts him in a better state of rest and helps him to work in a fit of inspiration when it strikes him. Perhaps it's said best by the sensei himself at the end of the series. When I see you guys having fun with no thought for anything else, it has an influence on me too. I can't forget my father's words. Work hard, play hard, and rest well. As time passes, and I see my father beam at another one of his granddaughter's accomplishments, I realize once more that this is just another thing he was right about after all.